All right. Hi, my beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Mindful, the podcast. Now, I'm so elated today to talk to my guest, and she's no other than Jolene Rader. And, Jolene is an author, who created a children book series called Pilots and Places. And this book series allows kids and their families to learn about different countries, cultures, and languages. Now, Jolene is originally from Belize, yes, and
Yes,
is
born and bred.
she's a former diplomat. Wow. Now she loves traveling, writing, and spending quality time with her family. Hi, Jolene, welcome.
Hi, Claudine. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Really appreciate it. When you sent me the link, and I saw the varied topics that you had, I was pretty impressed, and even more so that you use it to motivate and inspire people. So thank you for having me share in this way today.
That's what we do. I keep saying I'm in the sharing business. So
Sharing
once,
is caring.
I can share, what inspires me, what inspires you, that's great, great, great. Now, let's start with telling us a little about yourself. I know I said a lot in the beginning, but
Sure. Yeah.
tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. If I described myself in just one phrase, I would say that I'm a lover of all things international. And that seems to be the common thread, underlying theme, in several aspects of my life. Much of my, you've already mentioned it, much of my professional life has been in the field of international relations, as I worked for the Foreign Service for my native country, Belize, for several years. I had already had a love for travel, but that being in that position certainly developed that love. I was able to train all over the world, have meetings all over the world. And towards the end of that career, I was stationed at our embassy in London. So there I got to not only work with the Belize diaspora there, but also meet people from all walks of life, and I really enjoyed that time. And then it was time, when I had my first child, it was time to move back closer to family in this side of the world. And
Mhm.
I still wanted to carry over that international relations into some other field, and I ended up in education, another passion of mine. So right now I work as the international specialist, and designated school official for Regent University here in the US, at
Wow.
Virginia Beach to be precise, at Regent University, still dealing with international students from all over the world. That's really what I love about it. And it's really not just dealing with them in admitting them or them academically, or even, maintaining their visa status with the liaising with the Department of Homeland Security. So it's all of those things combined. And so whether, if I'm not personally traveling somewhere, or
Yes.
working with people different places, I'm or writing about different countries, as we'll talk about, I seem to be finding myself in a multicultural or international context
Yeah, I was just about to
most of the
say that
time.
you're very international.
So
And you seem to be
yeah,
a
that's why.
people person, always
Sure.
working with people.
Yes, that's what I love. Variety is the spice of life too, as they say. So, um, people of different walks of life, it just makes life interesting.
Yes.
you know.
But tell us, Jolene, like from the formal life of being, a diplomat and, rubbing shoulders with some of the most influential people in the world. Now, how did,
Sure.
what propelled you to like take on writing, take on that title of
Writing.
author?
Sure. Well, you know, my traveling is one of my passions, but it's also one of my passions as well. I did my undergrad in journalism, in print journalism to be specific. As far as I can remember, even in high school, I was always that person who wrote the long essays. Where it was a bit verbose, but I loved writing. That's what got me into print journalism for the undergrad degree. But I quickly realized, journalism is writing, but writing under pressure. That's the world of journalism. I don't necessarily like writing under pressure. So I looked for different outlets to still utilize my passion, my writing. So the other writing outlets I would find in work, whether that was writing press releases. I was the official, like I was the go-to for any kind of written correspondence from the embassy,
Yes, I would
speeches.
call on you too.
Yeah, yeah, I would write speeches for the ambassadors and my foreign minister. But I also did it for leisure as well. And I'd write little motivational posts on social media, and people started saying, you should write a book. I would buy it, I would read it, and so I looked into that, and I found it to be a little, especially through Amazon. I found a bit to be a easy process really, and so I started to document my writing, and I thought to myself, what can I write about? Well, why not write about something that you're already passionate about, interested in, and that's traveling. So I kind of married the two together, and that's how children's book series.
And that's so brilliant because that is such a brilliant idea, because since you've lived in these places and that sort of thing, I just find it brilliant that you can just extend that part of yourself, of your
Sure.
culture, so
Yeah.
that others can, you know, know and understand the cultural differences. And that's so good.
Sure.
And especially starting with a children's book, because,
Yeah.
I mean, I would not necessarily buy a travel book, but
Right.
I'd buy it for my
Yeah.
son.
Yeah, yeah. Well, children are at their most impressionable. That stage. They're already at an impressionable stage, and the goal of just writing the children, not to just have a picture book, but to impart knowledge, as you said, to try to share cultures. So I want to do that at as young an age as possible. Certain, it doesn't need. I want to, yes, and encourage them to travel, but they don't have to necessarily develop a love for travel like me. Not, but I want them to value the importance of global differences, that there are other cultures out there, to understand that, not to feel threatened by it, not to discriminate it, but
Yes.
to embrace those differences. As you've probably seen on my book here, the motto is explore, embrace, and enjoy your world. So it's embracing differences and celebrating our similarities too. People are people, but you just won't know
Yes.
about them until you take that step and get to know them, even if
And
it's
that's
outside of your country.
and that's one thing I loved about your books, that when I got the books, I said, okay, let me read it to my son, because I thought it was just a
Mhm.
children's book. So I was reading it to him, and then I got caught up in the book
Uh,
because, you know, um, it's easy to read and understand,
yeah,
but it's just the different the knowledge, the things
yeah,
that you see. I didn't realize, that in the books with the UK and the Belize, learning so much about the countries
yeah,
from the little book. And it's not
yeah.
a
It's not big.
40-page book,
Right.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But just learning about the things in the culture, the food, you know,
yeah,
I learned so much about Belize, the national dish,
yeah.
and beef
And
and chicken,
yeah.
the plantain, what I love. And I didn't
Yeah,
realize that the similarities, with Jamaica, we love rice and peas and chicken. So
right.
it was great,
Right.
in learning so much. And even we, in Jamaica, we have that connection with the UK. A lot of our
Yes.
cultural things come from, the British and that sort of thing. And it was just refreshing to learn and to see the
Yeah.
similarities. So it was so great.
Yeah, that's the goal, and I'm glad that you brought that up. That I try to. It's all about the audience. Yes, it's for kids ages 6 to 9, but kids younger read it, and people older read it, and they still learn something. So that's achieving the objective there. But yeah, just to make it simple, not just to understand, but to retain. So it's kind of like a narration, but it's also try to be comprehensive in what I offer in the book. Yes, it's basic information. I want them to know what the country's flag looks like, or their capital, or the
Yes.
proper name of it. It's not just England, it's the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. You know what I mean? Um, but also I want it to be comprehensive in terms of, it's not the ready attractions that we think of, the castles or the Eiffel Tower,
Yes.
but it's about like people and culture as well. The Garinagu or the Mennonite of Belize, or it's about a particular practice, cultural practice, Diwali in India, So that's kind of the approach to what I do in terms of the books. I also want to make it uh, practical,
Yes.
because all of the books they're ending with a little quiz to kind of
Yes.
see what they remember, what they read, and then there's a little craft section attached to the country. For Belize, it's like making a little barrier reef um, project or something like that.
And I love
Um,
that it has a
yeah,
little activity corner, you know?
yeah, and then it's just ending with like snapshots of the, like, real life snapshots, not just googling a picture and putting it there, but snapshots of the country, but also for kids to see other kids in
Yes.
the country, in their
And that's
tradition,
right
stuff
on,
like,
because that's
or
one
kids
of
traveling to another country.
and that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I had down that I loved about the that, I'm actually seeing you or other persons enjoying the sites, enjoying the culture.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing pics of that. So it's easy to visualize yourself. If I go here,
Yes.
I can visit this place, I can have this, because you're seeing
Yes.
people instead of just
Right.
reading about it.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Jolene, tell us, how do you approach creating the books? How do you go about researching and writing your books? What's the process like?
Yeah. Well, certainly some of the how I choose to write choose a particular place to write about. I would like to have a personal experience with that place first of all. That's the best way to get to know a place and to write about a place. But certainly, yes, you need to do a bit of research as well, and so that goes into it. But I've learned too that in certain places, if like I haven't been there before, for example, in the foreign service, that was my desk duty, like that region. So I did a lot of research, but I also met a lot of persons from the region at every level. And I found that getting to know about the place is best is through its people, that's how you get the authenticity behind what you're writing, the content of what you're writing. In our world,
Yes,
there's a lot of gatekeeping in the media. So even though you might be researching, it's kind of what somebody else wants you to know about that country, and that's always not true. So to be able to ask somebody and get their view, get their opinions, get what they want to offer of their country, and that too also helps to not inadvertently offend people, because what you uh, something good to talk about, they have a totally different opinion in
yes.
their country, being in the country, so yeah, I try to do that in terms of before writing. And of course I want to pinpoint different countries in all different continents. I just don't want to stick to one
To
region,
one. Yes.
so yeah, I did Belize and UK because that's, well, I wouldn't live it down if I didn't do a book um at first and foremost. But I still want to touch on African countries, East Asia, South America, so that's still the goal there.
And interestingly enough, a friend of mine, she does travel writing and blogging, and video production. And it's the same thing she was saying, like you, You have to
Yeah.
know the places
Yeah.
through the people.
Right.
And, before she goes anywhere, she said that she talks to maybe someone who lives there and that sort of thing to get get an idea of where you must go, what's good.
Right.
Because the local, she always said to me, stay local, do
Right.
the local because that's the best experience that you can
Right.
get. Not necessarily the
Yeah.
touristy, um,
Right.
doing the touristy things, but to just do the local things, whether it's going to a market, just a simple zoo.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And like I said, it's it's more than what you see from in the media, especially the stereotypes. Um, Africa is not all about African safaris. Is far far much. It's much more about that. So it's kind of even helping to dispel some of that, those stereotypes as well. If you actually get to talk to somebody from there and not just go with what you see on TV or see on social media, or read it, do like a research or something. You have to talk to people to get their stamp of approval, so to speak.
And I'm curious. I know you have different characters in your books.
Yes. Yeah.
Sophia, Kyle. Now, my curiosity, are these characters like real kids, real people?
Um, I just, as you can see, they're different nationalities, each of the
Yeah.
characters. So that was the goal. I want everybody to be represented, in a sense. First of all, not everybody can travel, but yeah, you can be represented in a book, and you can create your own imagination from there. And so, yeah, that's the goal in making these four little characters, as little pilots going to different places. And it's not, you know, like, Kyle is like a Caucasian, but yes, he can go to different parts of the world. It's not just for, you know, that one nationality. You're able to go different places. So yeah, I want everybody to be representative and feel inclusive, so they can do something like this.
Okay, great, great. Because I was just gonna say, why we don't have a Claudine in a Claudine.
Yeah, well, I might, who knows, that character there, or I might make them meet a Claudine in if I do Jamaica.
Tell you, there's only one Claudine in Jamaica.
Yes.
I'm plugging myself, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an idea. That's an idea.
Oh my gosh. So, you know what, Jolene, in writing these books though, what have you learned? What lessons have you learned? Because I know, writing the books, although writing is your background and that sort of thing, I know in doing these things sometimes you have challenges, in when you want to put out your own books. And even though it's a children's book, you must have certain
Yeah.
little challenges when writing them. So, what lessons have you learned, or what challenges have you had from this whole writing experience?
Yeah, well, for it just to be a illustrative book, a picture book is a as simple as you see the book there. It's a big undertaking. It's a few pages, but it's still a big undertaking just because you need an illustrator.
I can
Um,
imagine.
yeah, and just being able to communicate with them, and um, what you want the pictures to look like, and how that actually comes out. That was a challenge. And then being able to, I actually formatted it myself, so there was a lot of technical things that I had to learn to be able to
Wow.
bring it out in publishing. Yeah, and so I learned a lot of Adobe, different skills in Adobe, the whole, yeah, I did all of that just to be able to bring it to life, to organize the book itself from front to back, before publishing it. And with regard to publishing, Amazon does make self-publishing a bit easier,
Yeah.
just because that's already avenue, already market for people. And really good I got really good feedback on the first book that I wrote, uh, Jada Goes to Belize. So I continued along those lines. But yes, definitely the technical parts of put together was a challenge. I knew what I wanted there, but just being able to put it together, a lot of lessons learned.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're discussing it and people can see that it's not just an easy feat, because
No.
a lot of times, I tell my listeners that sometimes when you start something, the challenges and all of that, or even before you start, you might be looking on the journey and saying, but I don't know much about this, I don't know much
Yeah.
about that, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that your story, my listeners are hearing to your story, that things will come with challenges.
Yeah.
Although you have the background in writing, it's not just an easy thing. And we just have to
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
at it. We have to learn a lot of skills as we go along. There will be
Right.
challenges and we have to learn things, but you learn it, you move along, and you
Yeah.
don't let that defeat you.
Certainly, and it's a skill that you can use for so many other things now, not just in writing children's book. If I wanted to stick to that, it's something else I can, and you can use it in that as well, in that
Exactly.
area.
And in writing these books, you now know what it takes, the requirements to write other books,
Yeah.
to do other things,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
can even coach people,
Yeah,
mentor
and I've done
persons.
that already. As when I first got the, yeah, yeah, exactly. People have asked me already what was the process, and I've been able to do that, and help them too. So,
So
because
you,
have it
mhm,
up here that they want to do something like that, but they've just not gotten the opportunity, or they just don't know where to start. So if you see
start, yes.
somebody else, doing it, being able to do it, it's like, let me ask that, and then they'd be surprised at how just that first step can lead to a lot more.
So you see, guys, don't just have the ideas in your head, you know, move to it, do it, take that first step. And sometimes you just need to ask somebody,
Yeah.
reach out to somebody to find out what's that first step. And once you get the first step, then, you just move along.
Yeah. Yes.
So we're learning, we're learning.
Literally putting pen to paper.
Yes, because I'm
Yeah.
even thinking about writing a book,
No,
you know,
lovely.
um,
Lovely.
a simple book. So I'm even learning from you guys now, how what I should think about, some of the challenges that I might face and how I might overcome them. So,
Right.
it's good to learn from each other.
Yeah. 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 And just being connected, learning, networking, the illustrator. Somebody just told me about her. She didn't even live too far away from me. She was from South Africa, so she already likes the international feel of things,
Oh,
and it really just fell into place how that worked out, and and she was very reasonable in her package deal, because these things can illustrations can cost an arm and a leg, but she was, yeah, she was very reasonable, and she just enjoyed the idea of it, writing a travel book series for kids. So that really was a blessing finding her.
and that's what I realized, that once you have the idea and once you put it out there, the universe always aligns everything. Yeah, you just,
Yeah.
you find your illustrator that's not far, that's not totally
Yeah.
expensive. Everything will just fall in place sometimes, no matter what. So sometimes we
Hmm.
sit and we worry, how are we gonna do this? How am
Yeah.
I gonna do that? But if we
Right.
put it out there, let's start. The universe always just brings these things to you,
Yes. Yeah.
and
Mhm.
that's great. Now we
Yeah.
talk about your travel and helping families and kids to understand and to learn different
Yeah.
languages and cultures and that sort of thing. But what else do you want us to get from your books?
Yeah. You know, each book is prefaced with a little prompting. Let's get ready to go somewhere new, learn something new, meet someone new. Always preparing people to face new challenges. Get out of their little box. So my thing is, um, I don't want people to be insular, you know. And again, that's why I start from kids at their most impressionable. They're going to be the leaders of tomorrow. So from at this stage, I can get you to, you know, value the importance of global differences, to embrace that, to see it as a positive, you know. And again, like I said before, if I can get people to dispel one stereotype that they've always held, you know, that's a win for me in them reading this book and having that them take that away from it, you know.
Okay. And let me fast a little bit with you.
Yeah, yeah.
I know you have traveled a whole lot, and
Yeah.
and you're now exposing the rest of us to other places and stuff.
Yes.
But is there any memorable travel experiences or places that you have visited that have stayed with you, whether negatively or positively?
Yeah, yeah. Ask it that way. What readily comes to mind is actually a very early on travel experience when I was probably, I wouldn't even say more than 7 years old. Our family had visited New York for a summer vacation, and I remember, being at the little Bible camp, like a vacation Bible school, and um, I just saw, and this is not a positive experience. This is a negative takeaway. But it was what kind of helped. Yeah, it's what spurred me on in a sense, because from that young an age, I remember how wasteful kids were in terms of food.
Okay.
The American kids were in terms of food, even at that young an age. And obviously, I wouldn't have thought to put that in writing or something like that. But I look back on that right now and think, if those children just were exposed to what other children um, face elsewhere, the shortage of food, the lack thereof,
Yes.
Maybe they would come to appreciate things a lot more, having things a lot more. And so that's like a negative but also positive side of travel. And you've said, I've been to several different places, but really that is and I just mentioned that to somebody the other day, that really is a lasting experience, um, just in what that brought about, you know just for kids, for people in general, for other people experience in much of the rest of the world. It will make them appreciate what they have, but also it might even develop in them a sense of service or helping
Yes.
other people, you know
And it's
seeing a need
interesting
and
that you
being.
say that it makes you appreciate what you have. Because I always tell
Yeah.
people that you learn so much when you travel, and you don't have
Mhm.
to travel like you don't have to go international. You don't even have to
Right.
leave your country, but to
Right.
just leave your little place, your little village, your little city, and just go out there. You learn so much.
Yep.
Because
So
even
much.
us within one country itself, you learn so much about other people, other areas. Because even in
Hmm.
Jamaica, um, me in Kingston
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
do things differently from, say, somebody that lives in St. Elizabeth.
Right.
And
Right.
sometimes even the accent is totally
Yes.
different.
Right.
And we're in the same country.
Yeah.
And I
That's
know it's the
very
same
true.
for like you in Belize, because I think Belize, I read in the book that you speak Spanish,
Yeah.
um,
As
English.
small of a country as it is, it's a melting pot of cultures there.
Yes, so you don't you it's good when you go out and experience
Mhm.
other places so that you can appreciate what you have. And I tell you a story. I visited Puerto Rico a
Okay.
couple of years ago, and we did a sightseeing, and we went to a place where you're in some kayaks, and the little microorganisms in the water, in the river.
Yeah.
And when you move about in it, they shine.
The light. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've heard of
Yes.
that before.
We have that in Jamaica. You
Yeah.
know, our attraction is called Glistening Waters in
Okay.
Trelawney. And I've never been to the one in Jamaica, but you see, I journeyed all the way to Puerto Rico to see theirs. And it was
Yeah.
so interesting that when we went there, the guys on the tour, they were saying, you guys, it's like only 3 or 4 of that type of thing is in the world, and Jamaica
Wow.
has one. And
Yeah.
he was saying that ours is bigger, brighter, and better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, look at that. I've never even visited right in my yard, and I've never visited, and seen some of the attractions when you go out. When you come home, you're like, but I have better or more here.
Yeah, I didn't become a tourist in my own country until, I went away for school, and then it was obviously when you come back home in the summer, you don't miss the water until the well runs dry. So,
That's it.
when you come back, it's kind of like you miss it and you want to just take advantage of what you have there. And yeah, all those years growing up, you didn't. And now that you went away and didn't have it,
You appreciate it
back and
more. Because
yeah.
you realize what you have at home is good. We take advantage, of what we have. And when you go out and experience it, and sometimes even seeing, you realize I might be here and I cuss my people. But sometimes when you visit somewhere else, you're like, okay, Jamaica, it's really warm. Or the people, we're warm and we're inviting, because sometimes you don't get that other places.
Definitely. Yep. Yep. So true.
So we appreciate that, you, Jolene, have, taken on the feat of exposing us and our kids, to the world out there.
Yes.
And I just love that. Love that. So what's next for you?
Well, I would love to continue. It's like a series, so I would love to continue this series. Again, touching on even more continents. But interestingly enough, since I've written these books, I have also compiled another book. It's not a children's book, but because I now know the process, I've also put together like a devotional workbook for young mothers.
Wow.
So that's something. It's called Faith and Frustrations in Motherhood. It's like 25 to 30 encouraging devotionals, short writings that they can do, and it's a workbook that you can relate to. Like mothers can relate to, young mothers can relate to with their young children. So I would like to continue something like that. Certainly, yes, the children's travel book series, but whatever new topic or interest comes to mind, I would want to put pen to paper and put it into.
And don't stop, girl. Don't stop.
Yes, it doesn't have to be about traveling, but yeah.
And I realized that you have a great way of just simply putting things for people to just understand, and that's what I love. That's what I love about your writing.
Thank you.
And I love that you said that you have that devotional for mothers, because my listeners know I'm always ranting about motherhood. I have one little boy, one, and I find it so hard, and I'm always ranting about being a mother and how I'm tired of being a mother. So the book is spot on, the devotional, because I need that, and I know a lot of my listeners need that in their lives.
Yeah, for sure. We all need a bit of encouragement, right?
We do.
To know that you're not the only one going through the frustrations. Yes.
We do. It is really frustrated. And on that, how you balance like work and the family and your writing?
That's a good question, Claudia. um, yeah, I just try. And my husband is very supportive of my writing. He loves to read it too, whatever I write. So he definitely will help out in giving me that space, that time to put in those efforts. But yeah, it's just about, when you have an idea, you put it pen to paper so that it's not like you're going to write fully then, but just so that you don't forget it, so that when you do have the time, you come back to it and you're able to elaborate or develop that thought. But yes, I do and it is a challenge to find the balance. I'm not gonna lie. With a 9 to 5. Yeah, it's tough, but writing is a pastime of mine, a hobby of mine, a passion of mine. So we find the time for things that we are passionate about. And yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. You have to be passionate about things, and sometimes you can't
Yeah.
let the world and just life itself,
Right.
just gets you, because sometimes I know I struggle all the time. I talk about my
Yeah.
struggle all the time, in trying to balance work, home,
Yeah.
kids, everything. It's really a struggle. So, you have to
Yeah.
have that passion. And when you have
Mhm.
that passion, you have to take time out, to work on it. And a lot of
Yeah.
times I tell my listeners that it's not, you can't always submerge yourself into what you want to do. So some days it will take an hour. You dedicate an hour.
Right.
Some days it's 5 minutes,
Yes, exactly.
you know.
And we always have to take time for ourselves too. So for me, writing is a little outlet, a kind of way to de-stress. So when I do find that time to write, it's not like I'm working, at that minute. It's just me trying to relax, and because we all need that little break.
Yes, we do. We need a break sometimes. And it's
Yeah.
great for, as mothers too, we have to realize that we do need a break sometimes. It can't always be go, 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 go,
Go,
go.
go, go. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have to take some time to
Replenish.
recharge and rewire,
Definitely.
you know? So that is great. And I'm so glad that you have taken on, the little devotional. I can't wait to see,
Yes.
read, and use.
Yeah. Sure, sure. I
Because
will share that with you.
I need that in my life.
Yeah.
All right, Jolene, you have taken on so much, from your formal life, being a diplomat, the professional life, I should say, being a diplomat, moving into motherhood, and now being an author, that sort of thing. You have any tips, words of encouragement for us who want to go on that journey, or not even for writing, but
Mhm.
doing something that we're passionate about? You have any words of encouragement, advice, or tips for us?
Yeah, well, I think I'll use that same part in my book that says, if you have the opportunity to do something new, go somewhere new, meet someone new, learn something new, I can use that as an analogy for anything in life. Just take that first step, because you just never know what that might bring about. You never know the friendships that might come through it. Never know some kind of useful facts, interesting facts that you might discover. But like you never know how that might shape your thinking. um what we once thought about something, how it might reshape that thinking, or how it might develop some values within us. But just if you have that opportunity to take that first step, be it in writing or whatever, what your professional life, take it. You never know what that decision might lead to.
And
And
you
as the
hear,
book says, explore, embrace, enjoy your world. There's a world of opportunities, a world of possibilities out there. So definitely, take advantage.
Well said, well said. And I hope my listeners, I hope you're hearing and soaking all of this up, you know. Um, in wrapping up, I
Yes.
like to give a little of what I learned.
Yeah.
And
Right.
what I learned from you, Jolene, is that you don't have to be inside a little box, you know. You can do many other things. And we see that from your life, your professional life. You move from one stage to the next, a diplomat, being an educator, now an author. So there's many things that you can do. You don't have to settle for one thing. You can go there and explore and do other things, you know.
Yeah.
And I also learned from you that, you don't have to settle, and you don't have to look at all the challenges and all of that around you, but just taking the first step, you know,
Yes.
moving towards your passion, taking the first step, and everything else will come in line.
Yeah.
You're going to
Indeed.
have challenges and you're going to have little things in and out, but you have to make that first step. And I'm glad that, you said that today, and we learned that
Mhm.
another thing is when you take that first step, the skills you acquire,
Mhm.
and that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
You might not have had the skill before, but
Right.
in going through the process and the journey, you learn
Yeah.
lots more.
Yes. Yeah. Things
those
you didn't even expect.
yeah, those skills will stay with you,
Yes.
so that's good. And you don't have to be global. You don't have
Hmm.
to go there and travel, but we can also be exposed and learn from people like you in your books.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just
Your books are
document.
very accessible.
So and support is also good.
Yes.
You have to have the support. So
Hmm.
that's very important also. And I want to thank you, Jolene, for just exposing us to the different places and cultures. I tell you, as I said before, I took up the book to read to my son, and I was hooked.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And again, it's been a pleasure just yeah, getting to chat with you a little bit more about this and just yeah, share with your readers, your listeners rather.
So guys, you have to get Jolene's book. I'm plugging her. You have to. I have the books here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Belize, UK, and this is in India. So three so far in the series.
Okay, so I need to get India.
Yeah.
They're very good, guys, and it's not just for kids. I know we're saying it's a children's series, but it's not just for kids. I learned a whole lot. It's simply put, but not just simple, but it's a holistic book. You learn about those places, learn about the culture, the food, the language. Everything is put simply, and it's a great reference also. I have kids, and I know a lot of you out there have kids, and it's great. These books are great for references. We do a lot of homework that I always rant about in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
so
get a lot of homework and research about places, and it's nice when I can just draw on these books, to
yeah.
for reference. So, guys, it's great, great, great. Go out there and get Jolene's book, Pilots and Places. Jada goes to Belize. Kyle goes to the UK. And which one, Jolene, for India?
Sophia goes to India.
Great. And where can we get the books?
Amazon, Amazon.com. Just plug in pilots and places and it should pop up. That's the little brand, pilots and places.
So there's no excuse, guys. Pilots and Places, Amazon. I know all of y'all go on Amazon.
Yes.
So get
Amazon
the book.
junkies.
All right. And I'll put all of Jolene's contact and social media stuff. I'll put it in the show notes so you're sure to get them and people can, reach out from that. So thank you, Jolene.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for coming,
Claudine.
and exposing us to these cultural places. And
Most
thank you for writing
welcome.
such great, great books.
Thank you.
You
You're
know,
welcome.
keep keep on doing what you're doing, girl. Because as I said, I
Thank you.
just love how you write simplistically and holistically. And that's great. Easy for me to just go through and understand. So keep doing what you're doing and
Thank
looking
you.
out for much more
Yes,
from you.
I certainly, yeah, sure, certainly, certainly. And thank you again for the encouragement. Much
All right.
appreciated.
So thank you. Listeners, please do go out and get the books. Everything will be in the show notes. So you have no excuse. Right?
All
All right. Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.